Hi, I'm Kelly. Welcome back to Kelly Reads Books. Today I'd like to go over my July reading wrap up. I read 10 books in July. I had a few 5 stars. I'm still struggling with giving books a low rating. I had a few that I rated a little lower this time. I think I'm following my guidelines that I did in a previous video about ratings. The video is called, Am I Giving Away 5 Stars Like Oprah Gives Away Cars? So if you didn't see that, go back and watch that one. I'm going to go over my books in the order in which I read them. The first book I read in July was Across the Vanishing Sky by Catherine Cowles. Beautiful sprayed edges on this book. I love the sprayed edges, or as some people call them, spreadges. This book follows Braden Winslow, who is on a hike in this small town with her best friend Nova, and Nova disappears. About a year later, she and her young son, she's a single mom, moved back to the small town in order to figure out what happened to Nova. She meets Dex Archer, who's her next door neighbor. He's an FBI specialist in cyber crimes. And together they're trying to figure out what happened to Nova. This book is a thriller kind of and a romance, which would be a good combination, except for the fact that her relationship with Dex, in my opinion, happened so fast and was so spicy right off the bat. I almost DNF'd the book. But what I did is I just skipped those pages. I'm not a prude, but I don't need to read all that. I don't want to know all that. And for me, the ending of the book was just tied together too fast. It was plot twist after plot twist at the very end. And the middle, I kind of slogged through. I should have DNF'd it, but I didn't. So I gave this book a 3.5. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. The next book I read in July was The Odyssey by Homer. Now, I read this book as part of the Read Well podcast book club. It's a paid club, but what he's trying to tell us in this club is to slow down, to take notes, and to apply the ideas. And it's really changed the way I'm reading. I was reading 15, 20 books a month. I've slowed down, and this month I only read 10. But I think I was able to read the books more thoroughly and really get the idea of each book and not end up at the end going, what did I read and who are the characters? I'm remembering things more because I am taking notes and slowing down. This is the story of Odysseus and his 10-year journey to get back to his home of Ithaca after the Trojan War. Now, he faces all kinds of hurdles getting back to Ithaca. One of the things is he's attacked by a mythical creature, and Zeus is mad at him because he attacks the creature back. I won't go into any spoilers, but he faces temptations and the high seas and all kinds of things are standing in his way for him to get home to Ithaca. Meanwhile, in Ithaca, his wife Penelope and his son Telemachus are fighting these suitors that, not physically fighting, but these suitors have taken over his home. They're eating all his food and all the things he has in store. And they're trying to just keep things until he gets back. Penelope wants to believe he's coming back, even though she has her doubts. She does not want to marry someone else. This is a story of perseverance. And when everything else fades, the connections that we have to home and to our loved ones are the most important. I read this immersively with Audible. This translation by Robert Fagles is narrated by Ian McClellan. I did try the newer version. I don't remember who translated that. I tried it for about 2, maybe 3 chapters. And then I switched to this one, and I really liked this one more. There's something about Ian McClellan, and I highly recommend that you read it immersively or listen to it on audio, because the names will trip you up and take you out of the story if you're trying to figure out the pronunciations of all of those Greek names. With Ian McClellan reading it, you're able to breeze over the names, store them in your memory, and not get out of the story just to try and pronounce the names in your head. This was an incredible book. I highly recommend it, and I gave it 5 stars. The next book I read, I don't have the book anymore because I loaned it out. which is what I do a lot of times with the best books. I loan them out and even so much as give them away because I want someone else to have the same experience I did. And this was my second read of Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom. This is the story of Morrie, who was Mitch Albom's professor, who is now dying with ALS. And all these meetings that Mitch would come and talk to Morrie and learn from him. He learned about gratitude. He learned about compassion. He learned about relationships. In the very end, like the Odyssey, this is all about family relationships and that the connections we make to others are what truly gives our life meaning. I gave this one 5 stars. The next book I read in July is a series that I have just delved into. It is a fantastic series. And this is the second book, Leave No Trace, by Joe Callahan. The first book is In the Blink of an Eye. This is about a detective, Cat Frank, who is paired with an aide Locke. He's an AI entity that is in her wristwatch. And when she pushes a button, a hologram appears. He does all the data and the work behind the scenes, like say someone has a social media account and they need to know who they've interacted with. He can do that research in minutes, where it would take a detective hours to do, maybe even days. This book follows them on a live murder case. The first book was Cold Cases, and this was a fantastic book. They're trying to identify a serial killer, and this book is really about how technology and AI can assist us, but it's also about how human empathy, judgment, and intuition remain very essential to police detective work. So it has the AI component, but it does point out that humans are still needed. The next book I read was Every Time I Go on Vacation, Someone Dies. And this was a book club pick for Krista's channel, Books and Jams. This was a book that it follows Eleanor Dash. She's a famous author. She is traveling on a book tour with a bunch of her fans and with all the people around her, including her ex, Connor, who is blackmailing her and has been blackmailing her for 10 years. Turns out someone wants to kill Connor, and Eleanor may be in danger too. And this follows kind of a whodunit mystery. It was okay. I gave it a 3. It's not a book that I would revisit. I can't say that I came away from it going, that was a great book. It was just a 3-star for me. It wasn't too bad, but it wasn't great either. And this is the first time I've given a review less than 3.5, I think. It wasn't my favorite. I will not be picking up the next book in the series. The next book I read was Phoebe Berman's Gonna Lose It by Brooke Abrick. This is a fun story. Now, I went into this with some trepidation because the subject matter is a 29-year-old virgin who wants to lose her virginity by her 30th birthday. Sounds like a recipe for some spice, doesn't it? Well, it wasn't. It was a sweet story about a woman who has a lot of problems with intimacy. The very front of the book, this is not giving away a spoiler, but the first time she has a kiss, she throws up on the guy when she's in middle school, and it follows her all of her life. This really tells the story of her getting past her intimacy issues. There are 3 men in her life, and you're wondering throughout the book who she's going to end up with. And when she does end up with somebody, it's a plot twist. It's a great book. I gave it a 4.5. The next book I read was All the Lonely People by Mike Gale. This follows Hubert Bird, who is a gentleman who is very lonely and all by himself. His daughter lives in Australia, and if she knew how lonely he was, she'd probably come back and live in the UK. He's a Jamaican immigrant, and he was in love. His wife passed away, and he just hasn't made any connections since. This is a wonderful story about found family, because what happens is he makes up 3 friends and keeps a yellow notepad about what those 3 friends are doing and what he's doing with them. And that's what he tells his daughter every week when she calls. She calls and says she's coming to visit. He's got like 2 months to find a family, and he really does. The first person he meets is a single mother, and the story goes on from there. It's a great story, and I gave it a 4.5. The next book I read was Tom Lake by Ann Patchett. This is a reflective novel that's set during the COVID-19 pandemic, where Lara Nelson is telling her daughters about her relationship with Peter Duke when she was in a theater company. He goes on to become a very famous actor, and they want to know the story of Peter Duke. So throughout this book, she's telling them the story of how she met her husband, how she had this relationship with Peter Duke, what happened after it. It's a fun story that is so reflective on family and what family means to you, and how youthful dreams and ideas of being famous aren't really what life's about. It's about your family. It is a great book, and I gave it a 4.5 stars. Next in my reading in July was Dolly All the Time by Annabelle Monaghan. Wow, this was such a fun book. This follows Dolly Brick. She's a 39-year-old single mother who returns to Rhode Island to take care of her father and her brother and help run their seafood store during the summer. She is on her way home from making a delivery to the richest family in town, the Whitfields, and the town is called Whitfield, when she comes across Stuart Whitfield, who I think is the CEO of the company. He's on the side of the road, broke down. He doesn't know how to change a tire, and she changes his tire. Well, he's having a bad day because his girlfriend or fiance broke up with him after she was spotted with a Major League Baseball player. What ensues is him offering to pay her the money she needs to replace the roof on their house in order to be his girlfriend and make him look better and not having been dumped that he has a new girl. It's really a great story of how you don't have to carry burdens alone, and true strength comes from allowing yourself to be vulnerable, and that you deserve happiness and love as much as the people that you care for. The last book I read was one of the best books of the summer. This is a thriller that you're going to want to pick up. It's called Such a Nice Girl by Andrea Mara. Now, this is not out in the U.S. yet. I heard about this book from What Michaela Reads, I believe it is, or The Pastel Bookshelf, one of the two. This is the new book by Andrea Mara that comes out in the U.S. in March of 2027, I believe. But I got it from Blackwell's, and I just recommend Blackwell's because it's a bookseller in the UK that will ship to the US with no shipping charges. So you get it for the same price that you get it here in the US. It's a fantastic book. From the first chapter, you are just drawn into this mystery. We follow Siobhan and Grace, two ladies that are best friends, and their daughters are best friends, Luna and Ray. Now, what happens is they're at a wedding, and the next morning they wake up and the girls are missing. They can't find them anywhere. There's blood in their room, and they call 911, or not 911, I think it's 999 in the UK. They call the police, and when they tell them the location, the police said, "We'll be right over." They had gotten a call on the emergency line where someone is whispering and saying, "My roommate's got a knife and she's going to kill me." And then they start to give the address and the line is cut dead. So the police know something is going on and they can't find the girls. This whole story is about these two friends trying to figure out which daughter is the killer and which daughter is the victim. It is a great ride. I read this in 2 days. It was so much fun. And the plot twists at the end got me. I didn't see it coming. And that's my kind of thriller, is when you don't see it coming. So of all the books, the 6 books that I picked in my TBR jar, I read every single one of them, plus the other 4 books. And it'll be a lot like that this month because I have book club books on top of my TBR jar poll. I hope you enjoyed this going over my July wrap up. I hope you'll come back and see me. If you've made it this far, please leave me a stack of books emoji in the comments. Please like and subscribe and tell me what your favorite read for July was. I hope to see you next time on Kelly Reads Books.